Section C.9 Nominations. 9.1. The nomination day will be at least 40 business days prior to the election day of June 1st. 9.2. The Chief Electoral Officer shall post a notice of the nomination meeting in the First Nation Administration Building and such other conspicuous places on the reserve as she or he deems appropriate at least 15 business days prior to the date set for the nominating meeting. 9.3. The notice of the nomination meeting shall set out a. The date, time and place of the nomination meeting and b. Position or positions for which nominations are being sought. 9.4. The Chief Electoral Officer shall attend at the date, time, and place specified in the notice of the nomination meeting, and shall declare the meeting open for the purpose of receiving nominations. During the nomination meeting, the Chief Electoral Officer shall function as the chairperson of the meeting, and he or she shall call for nominations of chief and councillor positions. 9.5. Nominations will be received only between the hours of 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. at the location and date specified on the posted notice for the nomination meeting. 9.6. A person can only run for the position of chief or the position of councillor. A person cannot run for both positions. 9.7. Any elector may propose or second the nomination of any person eligible under these rules to serve as the chief or councillor in person or via mail-in ballot. 9.8. An elector who proposes to nominate someone for chief or council shall, through verbal or written submission, cite at least 2 of the primary qualities and decision-making abilities of leadership in their nomination, using Part B, Principles of Leadership of these rules as a guide. 9.8. The nomination must be moved and seconded by 2 different electors of the Beausoleil First Nation, both of whom are entitled to vote. An elector may nominate or second the nomination of more than 1 candidate for council, but may not nominate or second the nomination of more than 1 candidate for the position of chief. 9.9. An elector cannot nominate or second more than the total number of positions on chief and council currently subject to an election. 9.10. Candidates must, where possible, attend the nomination meeting to accept their nomination. If not in attendance at the nomination meeting, it is the responsibility of the candidate to become aware that acceptance of the nomination is open for 7 days following a nomination meeting, and to produce all information under Section 9.13 to the Chief Electoral Officer. Failure to submit all required documentation under 9.13 shall serve as declining the nomination, and the candidate will be omitted from the candidates list for the upcoming election. 9.11. The Chief Electoral Officer shall record the names of the persons proposing and seconding a nomination, the name of the candidate, and the position for which they are seeking election. 9.12. The Chief Electoral Officer shall confirm to those attending the nomination meeting whether persons proposing, seconding, and accepting nominations are qualified electors or candidates, according to eligibility requirements. 9.13. Any candidate who accepts a nomination shall present the following to the Chief Electoral Officer, for review and acceptance up to the 7th business day following a nomination meeting. A criminal record check, CPIC, which has been completed within the last 6 months. B. 1 legally accepted photo ID, to be considered acceptable. The valid identity document must include your name, date of birth, photo and signature. C. A vulnerable sector, VS, check, which has been completed within the last 6 months. D. Disclosure of all business interests and or conflict of interest affidavit, E. Preferred name or names on ballot. F. Current address and contact numbers. G. Proof of status membership at Beausoleil First Nation, and H. Formal affidavit which will signify acceptance or declining candidacy.